drugs, and furniture. All that and more coming up on AWANI International. Now, US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order moving forward with the sale of TikTok's US operations to American and global investors. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance says the new US-based company would be valued at around $14 billion US, well below some analyst estimates for the popular short video platform. Now, the move is aimed at meeting national security requirements under a 2024 US law. Trump also delayed enforcement of the law that could have banned TikTok in the US until January 20th. The extra time allows for the sale to be finalized, investors to be lined up, and approval to be secured from the Chinese government. Key details remain, including ownership and control of TikTok's recommendation algorithm. The executive order says the algorithm will be retrained and monitored by US security partners under the new joint venture. The order also outlines the Chinese owner ByteDance and its affiliates will hold less than 20% of the new entity. Trump said he discussed the plans with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who gave his approval to move forward.
The Chinese government certainly has a certain degree of leverage here because this is not just a deal around a platform, but it is a deal that involves geopolitical, economic policy, and trade. And so we've seen the Trump administration and the Chinese government sort of take this deal around TikTok, and really it has become part of a larger negotiation around trade and economics geopolitically.
Maya said how the platform's new owners will impact users' experience remains to be seen.
There's also this question, this larger question that is really unanswerable at this time, in that if media moguls who have media companies that produce content are part of the deal, does their content then start showing up in people's feeds? And does the feed experience change for the individual user? Now, there are those who are arguing that it will. There's those that say that it won't. And ultimately, time will tell. But that is a real question about not only just...
Now, US President Donald Trump has also announced a new round of tariffs on imports, including a 100% levy on pharmaceuticals. The tariffs set to take effect next week are aimed at protecting US manufacturing and national security.
Trump also said he would impose a 25% tariff on heavy trucks made outside the US. Home renovation materials are targeted too, with a 50% tariff on kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and related products starting October 1st. Upholstered furniture, meanwhile, will face a 30% levy. However, the president did not say whether the new tariffs would stack on top of existing levies or if countries with trade deals would be exempted.
Stay tuned for more after the break.
Malaysia bersedia menyaksikan perlumbaan sengit demi mengejar satu impian. Mereka menakluk ribuan kilometer, menentang cuaca dan pendakian berliku. Ini medan juang para juara. Letua di Langkawi 2025. Secara langsung di Astro Arena 2 dan Astro Go.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says Palestine is ready to work with the US, Saudi Arabia, France, and the United Nations to achieve peace in Gaza. He rejects any notion that Palestinians will give up their land and denounced the Hamas-led attack on October 7th, saying it does not represent the Palestinian people's struggle for freedom and independence.
Abbas also called on countries that have not yet recognized a Palestinian state to do so, and urged the UN to grant it full membership. His address was delivered virtually after the Trump administration denied him a visa to enter the US, and came just days after the General Assembly overwhelmingly backed a declaration to advance a two-state solution and end the war in Gaza.
Separately, the Trump administration has proposed a 21-point peace plan for the Middle East and Gaza during a meeting with Arab leaders on the sidelines of the General Assembly. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said he was confident there would be some sort of breakthrough in the coming days, but gave no further details. At the heart of the proposal is the idea of Gaza being run by a transitional body with UN backing and Gulf support before returning to Palestinian control. Among those involved in the Transitional Authority is former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. The BBC reports he has been in high-level discussions with all parties on ending the war and shaping the post-conflict future of the territory.
A group of nations has launched an emergency package to support the Palestinian Authority amid a deepening financial crisis. Saudi Arabia, Spain, Britain, Japan and France are backing the initiative, though the total funding has not yet been disclosed.
Called the Emergency Coalition for the Financial Sustainability of the Palestinian Authority, it aims to stabilize finances, preserve governance and ensure basic services and security for Palestine. Norway also announced a contribution of about $4 million. The coalition also urged Israel to release funds it continues to withhold from the Palestinian Authority. Despite rising donor funds in 2024, support still fell short of covering the revenue Israel withheld. Palestinian officials say no clearance revenues have been transferred since May this year, with areas now exceeding $2 billion. The fiscal crisis is made worse by a collapsing economy, which has contracted by nearly one-third since October 2023 and cost more than 500,000 jobs.
US President Donald Trump has insisted that South Korea's $350 billion investment in the US must be paid upfront. He says it's part of a broader realignment of trade ties, even as Seoul warns the demand could potentially trigger a financial crisis without safeguards.
Under the deal, Washington would cut tariffs on Korean autos to 15% from 25% in exchange for Seoul's investment. Trump sealed a similar deal with Japan worth $550 billion earlier this month. But Seoul's officials warned the terms could create serious foreign exchange risks and want a currency swap included to protect its financial markets. Earlier, South Korean Prime Minister Kim Min-sok said visa disputes and the currency swap issue could derail billions in corporate investments to the US.
Now, the Wall Street Journal reports that the US is planning to require chip makers to manufacture at home as many semiconductors as their customers import or face new tariffs. The move is part of President Donald Trump's push to revive US manufacturing and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick floated the idea to industry executives, calling it necessary for economic security. White House spokesperson Kush Desai told the Wall Street Journal America cannot be reliant on foreign imports for the semiconductors crucial to national and economic security. The report said the plan, still under discussion, could impose tariffs on firms that fail to meet the targets, even as global chip makers pledge billions to U.S. investment.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif calls on American companies to invest in Pakistan during his meeting with United States President Donald Trump at the White House. Sharif highlighted key sectors including agriculture, technology, mining and energy as opportunities for American investors.
The meeting, which also included Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir, signals a thaw in relations after ties froze under the previous U.S. administration. Earlier, Trump had encouraged American companies to explore oil opportunities in Pakistan. The two countries announced a trade agreement back in July. The timing is notable as the U.S. and India have yet to finalize a trade deal, and India still faces steep U.S. tariffs partly linked to Russian oil purchases. Since May, Trump has repeatedly claimed credit for a Kashmir ceasefire between India and Pakistan, a claim rebuked by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Now, this week on Wu Says, we look into the global battle for talent. Now, this is against the backdrop of the United States' decision to tighten visas for students and skilled workers, while China is actively attracting international students and world-class faculty. Here's a segment from the conversation between Melissa Idris and Professor Emeritus Dr. Wu Wing Tai.
Prabhu, can I just ask you, with the situation in the US and this stand that Trump is taking, do you see it similar to his position on tariffs? So this is the kind of talent version of his economic nationalism. Is it roughly, does this track in terms of Trump's brand?
I think it is identity insecurity.
Identity insecurity.
He's very much afraid of what he sees as, he's catering to the fears of the whites that they could be losing their identity. And the identity is narrowly interpreted by the Trump's group as Christian and white. And not just Christian, but aggressive evangelical Christianity. That is the extreme version that is driving the Trump policy on the visa front. For tariff, it is to bring jobs back to the United States. In this case, it's not bringing talents back to the United States. It is an exclusivist tendency which is at odds with the US experience of where its most dynamic elements have come from. Elon Musk was born in South Africa, for example. And if you look at the head of Citibank, the head of Microsoft, were India born.
Yeah.
So you could see that the Americans have been able to make general economic progress because the inflow of foreign talents make up for the failure in the domestic education at the primary school and secondary school level.
Right.
America is very unusual in that excellent universities, but very lackluster primary and secondary schools, except at the most elite private school level. Yes, then you would see that they are just as good as anywhere else.
So if America is taking this approach, is it to the rest of the world's gain? Is it to China's gain that, if America is not interested in the best global talent, could China be an attractive proposition? As you said, they're opening up, they're welcoming more and more foreign talent to their shows.
Well, not everybody. People's tastes are different, so not everybody would prefer to go to China. Largely because Korea has opened up, Hong Kong, another part of China, but culturally and administratively quite distinct, more open, have opened up to foreign faculty as well as foreign students. Now, this closing of the border to foreign talents is not just about workers, it's also covers students. It's much harder for students to get visa to go to the United States. You certainly see that in Australia, which has drastically cut the number of students from China. That's why Australian National University is in a financial crisis and talking about eliminating whole programs.
Catch the full conversation on AWANI International and across our social media platforms.
That wraps up AWANI International for tonight. Stay with us as we track the rivalries, strategies and power shifts shaping the new global order. For more, head to international.astroawani.com and follow us on social media. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thank you for watching. Good night.